Welcome to Agent from Within, the podcast that helps agents get out of their own way, listens to regular agent stories, not just all the top producers. Yes, we'll have top producers, but it's also a fully designed coaching system built here for you to get coaching, be inspired, be connected, but most of all, get yourself out of your own way. There's a whole lot more than just making a ton of money as an agent. If you don't know how to build a business to serve your life, you're gonna run around with your chasing your tail, feast and famine. Guess what, guys? Let's build a business with purpose. Agent from Within is here to serve. Cheers. Joe, what? Slizzle? Now that's a name. We got to probably fix that. What's your last name, Joe?
It's Silzell, but everybody calls me Sizzle.
Sizzle. Joe the Sizzle. I love it. Hey, man, it's good to see you. Where are you from?
Grand Junction, Colorado.
Man, I'm getting a lot of guys from Colorado today. Maybe we just went, see what happens. People loving the podcast. There we go. I just was on with someone in Colorado. So, Joe,
very cool.
Thanks for jumping on. We're live, and I understand that this is probably, I'm getting a little more used to it, but it's live. Like anything can happen right now, and people are watching, and it's definitely, we can't edit it on the fly, but I'm super pumped. I read your application. We have about close to 50 applicants. And we wanted to bring on people that could share their story and be open about it. We're glad to have you here, man. Why don't you just officially introduce yourself, where you're from, who you are, how long have you been in the business?
So my name is Joe Silzell. I'm a realtor with Remax 4000 in Grand Junction, Colorado. Just over my 2.5-year mark. So just kind of getting my feet under the ground and starting to work things out.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Why don't we start right out of the gate, just completely, why don't you give some advice to something that you've learned, something that you can give right now, they can give an idea of, it'll tell a little bit more about you. What's some advice you can give an agent that you would be able to help?
Okay, so the first thing I would do would be, hey, you kind of need to find, everybody talks about finding your own rhythm and stuff, but what I found out was you just need a huge audience, because if you get a huge audience you can be in front of, though, you'll find the people in that audience. So I do a lot on Facebook, and I do Facebook Lives and engaging questions and things like that. And the nice thing is you're going to attract the people that you'll like to work with if you just are you. If you put out good things, it really will come back to you. And I know that's kind of cliche, but it's once you start doing it that way, you'll totally see a difference in it. So just start engaging, having conversations, and then just be genuine with the people you have conversations with.
So is it Joe or Joseph?
It's Joseph, but
Joseph.
Joe is what everybody calls me. Yeah.
Everyone calls you Joe. Okay. So Joe, what you just said is, I love it, man. Love it so much. And it's funny, I love how you're it's kind of cliche, because you already know that when someone hears it, you're thinking, they're going to think it's some self-help book or something just be yourself. It'll all work out. But Joe, once you've realized and experienced that, it means so much, because it's true. Because if you're not being yourself, you're going to attract people that you're pretending to be like. And it's you have this weird relationship with people. It's and so I love that you're saying that. And I think it's interesting because you do a lot of Facebook Lives, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what was your first one like?
Everything's awkward when you start, right? A lot of people say, oh man, you're so good on camera. And I'm I've been doing this 2.5 years. And when the first ones were so bad, one, I would never go live because I was scared to death. Yeah. And two, I would take 50 takes on it. And then it would come out and I was trying to be this anchor and be today in real estate news. And it didn't come off, right? And so then it just kind of evolved where I was just hey, my name's Joe. Hey, this is what's happening. Hey, I'm doing this. And then pretty soon, that's where it kind of takes off. So you can't try to be something you're not, because it's really awkward. But the more you do something, actually, this is a line that you said a while back on one of your podcasts was, you said that, oh gosh, I just lost it. But you were talking about how you have to do stuff. And you're in real estate, everything works. If you do enough door knocking and cold calling and open houses, you're going to get business. Yeah. But you need to find what you like to do. Because if you find what you like to do and what's natural to you, one, you'll get the people you want to work with, and two, you'll actually be able to do something that you like, and you have a business that you're not drudging to every day, right? So that's something that I had to do. So I've done a lot of calling, I've done bought and leads, I've done all that kind of stuff, but you're kind of just spinning a wheel and getting somebody random every time. Where if you really reach out to people and have people kind of that attraction, where people are reaching out to you, the people that are going to work with you are the ones that are awesome. Like I had this call about 6 months ago, and I got a message on Facebook, and she's like, "Hey, I see your stuff all the time. I love your energy. Do you want to come list my rental property?"
That's the best, hey?
And I was like, "How do I do this and do this
Let's
more?"
do that again.
And literally, I showed up. I met with her and her husband. It was the easiest listing appointment ever because she's literally like, "So, what do you think it's worth? Great. Where do we sign? How fast do we get on the market? We've done all these upgrades. Do we need to do anything else?"
So,
And
Joe,
like,
you're experiencing the entire way that I'm trying to teach people to do business. Like that's what we want. But that's what, like the word relationship, it's so abstract. And most people, when we say relationship, if I was to go back to their mom, dad, sisters, wives, brothers, like, are they really good at relationships or are they shitty at it? And they're just going to have a relationship business because that sounds awesome. You know what I mean? It's almost
that's the cliche way of everybody says things. And that's why I'm like, hey, like you have to get past that. Like, what does it actually mean to you? Like,
love that, man. Love that.
You can't do something and just like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this with everybody, because that's not a relationship. That's a business gimmick. Like you can't say the same thing every time to everybody. You need to be genuine. And when you're genuine, it changes a little bit and you're still you, but it works out better.
Let's do this. Every word, and I think we're on the same wavelength here, because when someone says something, I always go, what does that mean to them? Because what might mean something mean to me. And so I'm thinking when you say genuine, it's the same thing. So for you, if we were to like, let's break that down, because I'm like, I've experienced it when I'm being me, which sounds so cliche. And if you don't know, if you haven't lived that feeling of like, just be yourself, like legitimately is the hack. It's the actual hack. And that's why I'm like, this dude gets it, but let's break it down for the audience and be like, what is genuine? Let's talk about it. And it's not all happy. Genuine. What happened? So let's say, talk about genuine, because let's try to show people how to be genuine. Very interesting topic and tough to tackle, but what does it mean to you?
So the first thing I do is when people talk about, oh, you have to be professional, which I'm always professional, but you don't have to be stiff. And I think that's where people get messed up, is that they're like, oh, to be professional, I have to be like, good morning, sir. This is Joe Silzell, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And no, like I don't like to call people because I'm not the phone guy, and most people don't like to be on the phone. So I'll just send them a text. Hey, it's Joe. Hey, let me know when you have a minute to talk. So that way, when one, I'm being courteous because I'm letting them call me when they have time. And two, that's how I normally text a buddy. That's how, if I want to go fishing with a buddy, I'm like, hey, let me know when you have a couple minutes so we can talk. Hey, if I want to take somebody to coffee or wanted to like hang out with somebody, that's what I would do, because that's a normal conversation. So that's how I treat it. So if I got an inspection resolution in, cool, I got to call the seller. Hey, let me know, I got some paperwork to talk to you about. Give me a call in a couple minutes or whenever you have time, right? That way, it's how I would talk to everybody. And that's what you try to do with it. You can't just be like, oh, I'm super professional and I'm going to say this thing. And that's why scripts don't really work for me. And the thing is, if you read a script, there's usually good things in them, right? There are objector handlers, there's different things like this. But a lot of times they come off very, very formal and very like to the point and almost too salesy. So if you just take it, granted, this is something that comes over time, and experience, it gets easier and easier.
Yeah.
But if you take little things from it, okay, what's the message? What am I trying to convey with this objective handler? Now, how do I say it that would be normal in a normal conversation? How would I say it that like is something I would say? And can I make it very simple so I'm not trying to sound super professional or like overbearing to somebody? Because the worst thing you can do is like talk down to somebody or use big words that they don't understand, because then they get defensive and then they don't want to interact with you, right? Because take it back to, you want to go fishing with your buddy, you're not going to start using all this technical lingo when you guys are going to go throw a couple bobbers and like worms on the hooks, like right. you want to do that to your friend. Why would you do that to somebody else?
So genuine, I think if we were to say, let's give some tips to people, and what I'm hearing you say is like, is treat them the same way you treat a friend, would be almost a hack to being genuine. I'm a big believer in, I actually like a little bit of imperfection with people. When I meet someone that's too perfect, like just think about it. How do I trust that person? Because obviously they're hiding something. Subconsciously, it's almost like there's a feeling. And then what happens is it goes back to your past. We've all been burnt in some level. And then my brain says, is Joe safe? So
Mm-hmm.
if we could understand the psychology of what being not genuine, even if you're a little bit insecure, if we're just insecure, they don't know it's insecurity. They just know that you're not being 100% yourself. So something is hidden. You're not disclosing who you are. Do I need to worry about that? Like, this is the deeper psychology. If we can understand the negative effect of not being ourselves is actually they don't trust you.
Yeah.
And like, if we can understand that be yourself means you're safe, trusting, and they open up, but it's almost like the negative effects almost is more motivating, because if I'm like not being myself and you don't trust me, like there's no real long game connection that can happen.
Yeah.
It's just no long game, because long game connection happens once we go fishing and you hear about my fight with my kids, you share stuff you've done. And it's not like I'm the expert on fishing poles. And you're like going, imagine you want to go fishing with me because this guy's so knowledgeable. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
No.
So I think by viewing it, like you're saying, is how would we communicate with our closest relationships? And if we can emulate that in our business, that's probably a hack to genuine.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then,
really cool.
And then the other thing to do with it, and this is what I think, and it's probably a good thing for relationships too, is just set expectations right out of the gate. What I mean by that is, like, don't try to like you said, like, don't be just the perfect guy, right? Tell them, hey, there's going to be some issues. Hey, tell them, hey, things aren't going to always be smooth. You're going to have some nights where you're like, was this the right decision? You know, there's a million things that go on in these transactions. Like, you have a spouse. One of you might be totally cool with everything going on, one not. Like, those conversations are going to happen. I always tell, especially when I'm meeting with couples, like buyers consultations for the first time, I'm always like, hey, we're going to go see houses. Like, we're going to walk around. You're going to say whatever you want to say in front of me. The second you get in that car, the second you go home and get in bed tonight, that conversation is going to be completely different than it was in front of me. And guess what? That's fine. That's great. That's how it's supposed to be. And then they're always like, oh no, we're like normal people. Like, well, we'll tell you, we're not going to hide anything. I'm like, no, like,
That's
even
fine.
if you're my best friends, you could say one thing about a house, and the second you go off, you're going to have a different conversation. That's not a bad thing. You should have that. Just once you sleep on it, let me know what you actually think. But that's how you would talk. That's how you would talk to your best friend when they were doing something, right?
So we don't need to like, I'm 100%. Like, I call it, what I do is in coaching, there'll be moments where I can either make them happy or polish a little bit what I'm going to say so it lands a bit better. And there's times where I've done that, Joe, and I didn't get the result or they didn't get the result that I could have helped them with. And I go home at night going, I protected my own fucking feelings of being like not liked or rejected, and I sacrificed this beautiful outcome of relationship that could have had there. So what I've decided in my head, I call it, I got to risk the relationship, because it feels like they're going to reject me. It feels like they're not going to like me. But what happens is when you start speaking truthful, and it's within the eyes of from the client, or from the wife, or from the whatever, your friend, the truthful, the instant reaction is respect, not rejection. It's almost like, wow, he's looking out for me, to the point where, wow, that's not the easiest thing to say. I'm not saying to be a dick, but there's something that happens in that interaction that they're like, it actually leads to respect, not anything else. So even if we soften the blow, sometimes, so I call it risk the relationship, because it feels like this thing's gonna, I can't say that.
Yeah.
It's almost like you the other side of it's respect, and I don't think people connect the dots.
Oh, and you got to think, like, when you're honest with somebody and you're brutally honest, and I'm not saying you have to be like brutal or you have to be like too upfront about stuff or you have to say it in a negative way. I try to end
you have to say it with the empathy from the other person. You can say anything, but if you say it, the brutal guy is saying it because he's the brutal, honest guy. Like, I could go up to someone and go, "You're a fatty," just telling you the truth. Not that. You see what I mean? So that's what we're saying. Like, brutal honesty is still not healthy. It's if it's not, I really want to help this person, and I have somewhat of permission to speak to this person. There has to be that combination. You can't just walk up to strangers and be brutally honest. And that people get a lot of attention that way.
Yeah,
but help. That's not for the
no.
people.
I'm not that broad. I'm not that like.
The honesty is what we're saying, right?
Yeah, but again, there's an easy way to be honest about stuff. Like, hey, like, this is what could happen. Here's some of the options that are going to go down. Like, hey, like, I was in the Marine Corps, And one of my first sergeants had this saying, and it was a really good saying, because he'd be like, hey, if you get in trouble, you just need to tell me about it, because bad news doesn't get better with time. And that's what I tell my clients all the time.
Love that, man. Bad news does not get better in time. Like it a lot.
Because
love that.
Yeah, because like if something's bad, hey, we might as well address it now, because we're gonna have to address it at some point, and it's not gonna get better. It's not gonna go away. So when you just treat things like that, and there's the eating the frog and all those other kind of things that people talk about, and it's similar to that, right? It's just, hey, let's be upfront, let's get ahead of this thing, let's find out, and then again, what do you want to do? You're the client. This is where your kids are going to sleep. It's where you're going to put your head at night. To me, hey, I tell people all the time, I'm going to sell more houses. So if you don't want this one, let's go find a different one, because I don't have to live there. When everything's said and done, this is where you're going to be, or this is where you're going to sell.
With this philosophy, with this thinking, with this outlook on life, the way that you've decided to build your business to align to who you are, be honest, Jen, how has that worked for you?
Pretty spectacular. I've been very blessed. But yeah, I'm only my second year, and in MLS, about 1,000 agents, I'm in the top 30.
You see, Joe, you're helping the mission to show the picture of how to do this game, because what we're talking about is not the way to do the game. The game is scripts, grind. And so what you're doing is you're building a business that you like. And that's not even part of the conversations that anybody's having. It's like, you got to wake up and like what you're doing, because the fuel fires your business. If you hate what you're doing, imagine waking up and having to clean a garage every day.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, so we don't actually consider loving the business that we in. I was just on the call with Corey there, or I don't know, whoever it was. I can't remember which one I was talking to. I'm on a marathon right now. But It's like, I literally sat down with a guy a few years ago. He's like, yeah, I'm looking for coaching and all this. I'm like, okay, cool. What are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm doing these mail outs for these neighborhoods. Okay, awesome. So cool. I said, so do you like doing them? Not really. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. But it's working, right? No. I said, do you have another one on deck to send again? Yes. I'm like, to me, I just feel like I might as well hit my hand with a hammer. Like, I don't understand why. And I just think that's where I feel like the support that's out there isn't sometimes it's not actually doing anything, because he's getting support to do mail outs, be consistent, just keep hitting it. It'll eventually work. But this is the advice I want to change. And I think that's why it's like, it's not working is my issue. That's why I asked you, how's that working for you? Being a genuine guy and like, oh, the cliche stuff. You're like, yeah, top 50. Oh, yeah. I see. You got no pressure. You don't do scripts. You learn to connect, you work with people, like, you don't live scarcity. Like, there's a lot of inner game going on that's actually causing this environment where people want to work with you. Would that be accurate?
Oh, 100%. Mm-hmm.
Dude, you're gonna win, man.
Here's another thing I tell people all the time. I don't want clients that don't want to work with me. So if you want to go interview other people, you want to work with somebody else, 100%. And I've had a couple people be like, well, you don't want my business? I'm like, it's not that. I would love to work with you.
Love that so much, man. Love that.
I don't want to work with somebody that doesn't want to work with me, because one, you're not gonna be as happy as I'll be happy. And it's gonna take a lot of time and effort for me to do exactly what you want if you don't want to work with me. If you want to work with me, hey, it's gonna be a smooth sail. We're gonna be able to figure this out. If not, we're already getting off on the wrong foot.
That meant, like, it's funny because I'm listening to people listen to you in my head. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's really hard. It's great. It's inspirational. The message needs to be pounded into this what we're talking about. But until
you're making it, it's hard.
Until they do that change, or they risk doing that, they won't have an experience in it. I love it though. I feel like it's a lot like it's almost like I don't know how old you are, but do you remember like, there's a really old show too, it's called Happy Days. You remember the Fonz?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
The Fonz. So Fonz was the coolest kid in school, leather jacket, kind of rebellion. Do you know what his stick was? He didn't give a shit and he didn't care. And everyone, and that's the game. It's like the cat that you want to pet and you're chasing it around and it's like, get away. But as soon as you ignore it, they come back. My wife's like that. Sometimes I ignore it on purpose. And I'll be like, and she's like I'll sometimes play a game. Like the other night, I I was thinking like, I want to be like, Renee, come on, why aren't you connecting? You want a hug? Like, I'll do that. I'm like, it never works, by the way. So I'm thinking, obviously I'm like, or it's like, I'm not running around needy, but sometimes you feel that way. And I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. So I quickly went to bed at like 7 at night, laid in bed. I'm on my phone. And as soon as she comes, I quickly put my phone down and pretend to sleep. She said, you're in bed? What's going on? Why are you in bed? And I'm like, I said, because I was looking for some attention. No, do that to me. Don't do that to me. I'm like, yeah, playing hard to get. It works. Look, you're here. And it's just a total game, but it's psychology, right? Mm-hmm. So she'll do it to me. I'm like, stop the hard to get. This is bullshit. But anyways, it's just a fun game, but it's psychology. And it's a lot like business. If you're chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing, you'll get stuff. You do. Oh, yeah. It's the grinder's way. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I do believe in the beginning, you got to work. You got to grind.
Well, and I don't want to have people be like, oh, so if you just have this great mindset and you just do this, like business comes to you. No, I work incredibly hard. Like I talk to a ton of people. Like I started out and I've done, if you can think about a lead generation or a way to talk to people, I've probably done it. I haven't done a lot of mailers, to be honest, but like I've done like cold calling random lists you get off the internet. I've done door knocking, open houses, like all the traditional ways that people talk and do some floor time at your brokerage, like all these things. People think that, oh, that's how you get business. And I've gotten a deal off this or a deal off that. And so then I got into Facebook ads and, online marketing to get into that. And here's the other thing. I figured out how it worked and it was working really well for me. Like in the first 6 months of doing Facebook ads, I spent $1,200 and I closed in over $25,000 in commissions. Now, but here's the thing. I stopped that after 6 months. And most people be like, that's good ROI.
Yeah, because you're long. You got to keep those clients and you get referrals, right? Is that the game?
Well, that's a huge part of it. But the other part was I didn't like doing business that way because you know how many calls I had to make? Do you know how many people I had to talk to that is spinning that random wheel and hoping that like a good client came out of it, right? And then you're having to sell yourself and all the other stuff that I think that's why people fall into that. They're not really genuine and they're kind of, just doing what they think they're supposed to do because that's how you get those clients. Well, but what I pivoted really early on was you have to find something that you love and the way that you can do business. And granted, I don't love everything I do. No business is 100%. I show up and I'm like, this is the best day ever. That's not how it works. But I like my business now. And when I come in to do stuff, I actually do enjoy what I do. But I sat down, finally I sat down and I was like, what do I not like to do? And what do I like to do? So I like talking to people, but I don't like talking to people on the phone. So what do? Text message, Facebook message, everybody and anybody. And that's how you start building that. Yeah. And one of my original coaches had a great thing. And he told me, he said, you need to talk to 20 people every day. 10 of them have to be first time, or if you only talk to them once. He goes, if you do that for 6 months, you'll have more business than you can deal with. And I was like, well,
so where did he learn that from? I'm wondering. My dad was 1970s, and he was an insurance salesman. He took some training, and he taught me some of the stuff I know. And what he did was he got so freaking good, old school, right? Mm-hmm. He goes, I call 10 people a day. He goes, if I don't get any appointment, I go home. He was number one overall in all of Canada over and over. He was speaking in his 20s as the expert. So I sold $2.5 million of office furniture, but I've evolved the system into real estate and I do some training on it. And that's why when a new agent comes in, I'm like, so 90 days, talk to 400 people is probably the best way to start. And it's like, well, where do I find them? I'm like, put a gun to your head and you're going to die in 24 hours if you don't talk to 10 people. Do you really want me to solve this problem? Because you already know the answer. It's like, I guess I would go door knocking. You do whatever you can do. Like, I don't need to give you 50,000 tactics. Go talk to 400 people. You got friends, family. But then there's obviously some tactical advice there. But my dad taught me that. And I sold $2.5 million of office furniture because I would get on the phone in old school. I'd be like, hey, you want to buy a desk? And it was totally annoying. But I think that cold calling training, unbelievable training because it sucks.
Yeah. Well, you're calling the wolves.
Like calling me horseshoe. Lucky guy, but I did start getting lucky, which was really interesting. There's something that I've developed a theory on. It's called the luck factor. Because when you're constantly looking for business, like you have this energy of like looking and not aggressive, but just like hunting, you're always looking, where's it coming from? Where's it coming from? Weird shit comes that doesn't have a direct tie to what you're actually doing. And someone comes behind you and goes, yeah, I got $1 million listing. Would you mind doing it? And you're like, how the hell did this come? But the pattern was so there with how many people have worked with. It's like this luck factor shows up where it's like this energy or magnetic force of some level because you're constantly doing and looking. And so it's kind of interesting. What you're describing is, I wondered where his training was, because 1970, my dad was trained and he taught me the system, and I teach it today of Ben style. But it's like, at the end of the, I love what you're saying, because you're right. It's not all mindset. You have to talk to people. It's
funny you said the luck factor, right? Because there's two things that I go back to when I think about luck, right? The first one is Michael Jordan. He said, yeah, everybody keeps telling me, man, I got so lucky. And he goes, it's interesting how, like, the more you work, the more lucky you get, right? Like, the more you practice something, things just start happening.
It's so true, man.
And the other one is, I don't know if you've read The Richest Man in Babylon.
No, but I know the book.
I've read it several times, listened to on audio probably once or twice a month, maybe. It's extremely good because it's so simple, and they talk about luck because you have to read the book, but like, in part of it, they're talking about how do you attract luck, and they call her the goddess of luck or whatever. And they're like, well, some people just get it naturally. And he's like, but aren't those the same people that are looking for it? Aren't those the same people that are ready for an opportunity when it comes? So we can say, oh, you get lucky because you're attracting and all this stuff. What it really comes down to is, if you talk to 400 people in 90 days, how many conversations that is, and if you're a genuine person and you are actually trying to help and you're actually doing the right things, of those 400 people, you might not even sell one house to any of them. You might not even do anything with any of them. One of them might tell you about, oh, hey, why don't you call this person?
Exactly.
Hey, I was out talking to this really nice guy the other day. You should call him if you're thinking about it. Because again, this is frontal lobe with your brain and all this kind of stuff. But like, if you go buy a white car and you're like, man, I got this nice, super nice car and I've never seen another one like it. And then every day for the next week, you see one and you're like, wait, when did everybody get all these? And they've all had them. It wasn't even put in your brain. It's the same thing for this. If you're looking for opportunities, you'll find them.
It's so true, man. And it's fact. This is just fact. It's just, you become lucky. Like, do you know what I do just to play the game in my head? When my phone rings, I just take a second. Not all the time. Obviously, I'm not some sensei master, but sometimes when I feel like a sensei master, all of a sudden I'm like, is this it? I have no clue what I'm talking about. When the phone rings, instead of being like, oh shit, I'm like, is this the call? Is this the call? And it's like, and so it's got this energy around, like, is this the time it happens? And it's almost like I don't need the details. It's the energy of this anticipation of like, great things are coming my way. And it's a mindset. It's almost like I'm like ADD. So sitting and meditating and all that's probably good, but I can't sit still. And so the thing is, that's why I can do 4-hour marathons. Not even if I could do 3 days like this. It's
you just fire.
You just let's go, right? The thing is, though, I think, is that what happens when the phone rings, when an email comes in? And I'm very aware of my energy, where it's like, fuck, another call. But no. It's like, holy shit, is this it? Is this the call? Is this the call? And I think that's what we're saying. And it's true. I've seen the exercise too. It's like I was in an auditorium. You say, hey, take a look around. Look for the color brown. Everyone looked around and I'm like, okay, close your eyes. How many red things did you see? 0.
Yeah.
I said, open your eyes. How many red things do you see? It's everywhere. And so it's very important. That's from within. Like, it's so much tactics are just the end of the game. The root system of a tree, like, everyone's going after the fruit. And I'm like, the root system is driving everything. And so people are solving problems that aren't even really problems. And they're trying to, all through tactical. If you get really good at tactics, you can incrementally get better. But if you lift your confidence and energy, you can go 10x. And once it seems like you kind of understand this. So let's go to another shift in games here. Love the conversation. This could be a great show, man. People are going to love this. I can't wait for you to package this up for you too. So let's talk about where you're at. So you've done well, 2.5 years. I kind of have an understanding what happens at 2.5 years. I kind of have an understanding what happens when you do get popular. All of a sudden, it's a little easier business, and all of a sudden, there's a little extra business. And then you all of a sudden realize, you're very aware, I'm holding it back in some way from actually going to the next level. This is my favorite. Like, this is the most favorite place. This is like, I have a program called the Real Estate Boot Camp. Reboot camp, because you reboot around that time, because you got to think differently. Now you have to be a business owner. You got to scale. You got to do things, because what got you there is not going to get to the next level. It just isn't. And so part of it. the heart of it is. But so let's go back for a second. It's like before we scale, because that's your question, how do you set yourself up to scale, you asked? And it's here's an interesting thing. Like again, solving that problem, it's a lot like why is where I go. So here's what I go by first, because if we don't tie our business to meaning, and we'll just go to try to be the biggest we can, and there's a very big price to pay when you're building something that doesn't tie to who you are, which I'm loving that you are set up so good that way. You're like, I'm just going to be me. This is now chiropractically, you're set up. So now it's like to always never, ever, ever forget. And I'll ask yourself, why do I, and how much money do I need to have the life I want? And if you can't answer the money question, it's probably because you don't know the life you want. Then it's almost like letting that life be a little more fluid. This is what I want today, but I'm willing to let that evolve. So a lot of people put up a dream board, and then 3 years later, the dream board means it's like completely wrong. So we have to be fluent, right? So I think about it, and a lot of people are like, I want to scale with the next level. Okay, cool. Why? If we don't answer the why question, like what do we want? Like, what do we want? Like once you've hit some really big numbers, like I've hit lots of really good numbers, I've been on top of most industries, you realize really, really quickly that it didn't do what you thought it was going to do. It's just like 100 grand to, let's say 200 to 300. No, let's hit 300 to 400,000, exact same life. Okay. Yeah. Exact same. So the problem is you think that what happens is you get caught into what the industry celebrates, which is these rewards and getting these accolades. And if you have any sense of insecurity, you're going to be drawn to that, which is everybody at some level, because I like to be celebrated, but I know now how to be celebrated without having that as a need. I get to enjoy it. I love the attention. I love the accolades, but that's not a feeling a need anymore. And so there's a bit of an inner game there that then we can celebrate awards. But the problem is there's some inner work that's probably not being done, and it really is exciting because you feel wanted and needed. So I
just go for awards. You're ended up just in the same cycle you were when you didn't have any business. You're just going for the deal. You're just going for the business side or the accolade. Like there has to be more than that. Otherwise, you're going to get burned out. Otherwise, it's really just it'll become, oh, I got to wait this X long to get this award, so I'll just coast until I get that award.
Totally. People stay in brokerages. They make all their life decisions on these awards. They just, but the thing is, because they celebrate that, we gotta go up current to have it's in an industry with a massive current going one way. You got to go up current. That's why it's difficult, because it's like the pressure's there, man. Like I know I could, like I have that still. Like if I was to really, I could tap into that ego side of me where I'm like, what if I just stayed as an agent? I could probably be like that feeling of like, I can bring that up, be like, no one could fucking get close to me. Like I can still have that competitive nature that like, I fucking dominate. But then I go, oh yeah, that cost me my marriage almost. It legitimately did. I remember my wife sitting down with me saying, I want to leave you. I was like, that was the day I was like, I'm a good dude. Like I want to be married. I want my kids. And I went, holy shit, I got something wrong here. So that motivates me still today. That's why I'm on this mission to be like, you guys don't want that. You want meaning. You wake up and you enjoy your life. So the question is, all that said, it's what do we want is the question first, but then how do you scale? That's tactical, right? By the way, it's super easy. You run into yourself. The actual tactic's easy. Google it. There's 50 different ways to scale, but why are we not scaling? Now we're talking about the from within questions. Like, so it's like you can do your ways, but then you have to replicate you. Yeah. But Joe, you're one of a kind, dude. I already know that. You're definitely different than most people I talk to. You've got your head on straight. I already see you're going to win. It's just the next level is replicating Joe. How does that work?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Cause like for me, I'm not motivated by the money. Hey, the money's great. It's better than I've ever made in anything else. I was a Marine and a sheriff's deputy. Like this is so much more money than I ever had. But my thing is that, like you were talking about, hey, wife and kids. I'm not there yet, like in my personal life, but I know I will be. And so I'm 27, and basically I started at 25, and I told myself by the time I'm 30, like that's when that's where I'm putting my groundwork. It's a new business. You have to put the first 3 to 5 years in, focus on the business, make it something. Yeah. But once I get to 30, and I mean I'm 2.5 years from that now, is I don't want to be spending 60, 80 hours a week doing real estate. Even if, I get the awards, I'm getting the money and all that stuff. Like you said, what's the difference between $150,000 and $200,000 a year? What's the difference between 200 and 300? It's not much different lifestyle, but I also want to enjoy that time and the money, and I don't want to be that guy like all those songs, waking up on my deathbed being like, man, I really wish I'd spent more time with my family or my wife or my kids.
So true.
So that's where I'm that's the scalable side. Isn't, hey, how do I get more money? It's how do I get more time making the same money and being able to just be okay with everything.
Joe, this is my mojo, man. I love this stuff so much. I could literally, for me, I'm like, here's how you do it. Let me just try to leave you with something. Okay. So so it's not like, obviously, like I would, first of all, to be bluntly honest with you, you might want to look at the real estate reboot. It's every system. It's all how to set up. It's how to set up everything. And that's not the purpose, to be honest. Of course, the purpose is to promote myself through this. I'm not a liar, but the thing is that I'm not here to sell anything. That's the truth. Okay. But I would definitely consider looking at that in February. I give all my systems to you.
What are the dates on that? February?
I don't know the date yet. So
okay.
I don't know the date yet. I'll start putting it together. It sells out quick because I actually only take max 8 to 10 agents. That's it. That's it. And that's something maybe offline we could chat, because I think that might be something that might fit. But here's the first step. If you want to scale, look at it as a real business first. I've said it a few times on the podcast. If you're starting a restaurant, okay, you're forced to scale day one. If you're starting as an agent, you're not. But that's the problem. And this is where I feel like I've never seen anyone teach on this. And because I come from a different area, I come from building business, not from real estate turned coach who doesn't want to do real estate anymore. I'll teach you all my marketing systems. That's what coaches are, right? And so I come at it from a little different. And so the first thing is how do we, like if we started a restaurant, who's the dishwasher is the first question, who's the cook? So if you're a cook, who's the hostess? Who's going to be doing our bookkeeping? Who's going to do our marketing? Who's going to clean the parking lot? Who's going to do the maintenance? That's literally how you build a business. You create the budget, you check how much revenue we need to make, and the marketing's got to work. And we know that we're probably going to lose money for a while till we get the word out. The product better be freaking amazing, so they tell their friends. Maybe we'll do some birthday marketing. And so that conversation, let's take the same conversation into real estate. Let's reboot this. Okay, we're building a business. Great. So what are the pieces that we need to put in place? So you've got a marketing company, which is marketing houses. You've got functions of showing houses. You've got functions of your basic finances need to be taken care of. You got accountants, bookkeepers. You've got, like, if we take a look at all the different functions, we actually have 3 or 4, 5 maybe businesses that real estate agents are running, like even administration. Like there's a full administration department. So if we look at it as building a company, our mind changes, because what we're doing is building a marketing machine and no other different dimensions. And so if the marketing machine does work, which 9 out of 10 don't, but if it does work, which is actually happening to you right now, whatever you're doing, it's got momentum, which makes me nervous, because I'm like, momentum at first is nothing, and then boom.
It rockets.
By that time, though, it's a double. That's what happens if you're good, okay? But it's double, lose clients, feast and famine. And you're the best guy in town. Has nothing to do with your skill, who you are. It's just practical like this. People know in my town I'm one of the best, okay? Would they call me direct when they see me out there doing coaching conversations all the time? Probably not. Is Ben going to have the attention? If you're competing against me, you say Ben's not even focused on selling houses. So what I'm saying is it kind of has the same thing. I obviously have a team, and I literally don't take any of the deals for that reason, because I'm not as good as the guy that can focus on it. And so here's the thing. What things can we outsource? And that's the thing. So the number one thing to show her up, first of all, is that you play the long game, okay? The long game's got to be set up. Meaning, this is another thing that no one ever teaches is this. Joe, how are you? What are your systems in keeping your client for the rest of your life? These are the systems I built first, which seems backwards. Like, how are we going to make sure for 20 years that client never uses another agent? See, we do all the front-loaded stuff, which you're doing good at, which you've said you've tried everything. But out of all your learning, have you found anyone that's teaching how to keep a client for 20 years?
No. And it's all new leads, new people, repetition. Like,
So this is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So let's play the game. Let's look at a different way to build this business. Okay. So Joe, you've got momentum. We're going to capture this. But the plan is this. Let's get to, let's say 500 transactions. Let's say 500 transactions. You've blown their mind, okay? You've done things that people are like, this guy's amazing. He knows me. He gets me. There's only one agent aggressively telling everyone that says, you got to use Joe or you're an idiot. Like whatever they're doing, you're creating that, which is that's the whole heart of what I try to teach is to blow their mind, build a referral base. But the goal of the business is 10% referral is my goal. So 500 clients is how many deals a year on a 10% referral? 50, right? Yeah. We've just created a retirement plan, Joe.
Yeah, you get 50 deals a year. You can bring your own ticket.
But guess what? Here's how the business works. First year, 20, so you get 2 referrals. Next year, 40, you get 4 referrals. Next year, 66 referrals. 10. Now you're at 100 transactions. You're getting 10 deals a year if you built it the right way. Seems simple, doesn't it?
It does.
This is the business that I literally have a business running. I got 5 agents. I don't sell anymore. And it brings in a few $100,000 a year. And I'm literally get to hang out with you for today. And I get to go home and flood my ice rink for my son because it's friggin' cold here. And so sure, I'm sounding really happy and everything, but it really is legit. Like I work my ass off. I was up at 5 a.m. to prep for this, but I freaking wanted to. I want to. That's the difference. I don't stop working. I will work my head. I will just work for hours. I could go 25 hours straight. I love it, but because I love it. It's like when you wait, I want my life to be like this, waking up and you know you're jumping on a plane to Disneyland. See that energy? Whatever that energy is, could I get that in my day-to-day life where I get to sit there and talk to Joe? And because I love doing this and it's just that impact and maybe there's a shift that happens. And someday when I lay on my deathbed, I'm like, Joe, in 10 years, maybe I helped that guy a little bit. That's it. I've already won the game, Joe. What do I need? I got a wife that loves me. I've got businesses. I got enough money to last. I make more money than most people in the world. It's like, what do I need? So I get to do what I want. That's what we all want. Just do what we want. I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying I'm not going to have struggles. I'm prepared for all of that.
Well, again, you didn't say you're sitting on a beach working 4 hours a week.
That's not the goal. And that's the old goal that people found out that when you're sitting on the beach with a freaking cyst in your stomach or sitting on the beach and you got a hip problem, something's wrong with that retirement plan. I'm living life all the way to the end, and I'm living today. I don't care if I can't afford to live away for 6 months, I'm going away for a week, but I'm starting today to live the life that I want. So back to the beginning, reboot. You're looking at, you're a little bit behind the 8 ball on business development. You're in front of the 8 ball on marketing because you've done so much research. So here's the one system hack right out of the gate. Nobody celebrates birthdays in this business. Okay. Nobody. Guess what they celebrate? Anniversaries.
I'll sell your house.
Yeah. Just watch this. Play the game just for the recording.
Okay.
It's funny. So it's like this. Imagine it's like, hey, Joe, I'm having a party. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, I want you to come over. We're having a huge celebration. 1 year ago today, bought my house. Is that even a real thing?
No.
So why do real estate? So now watch this. If that's not even a real holiday, it's nothing nobody celebrates. Maybe a little like, hey, it's been a year. That's about how far it goes. Or maybe there's a dinner because it was the ultimate house. Or there's some exceptions. But the majority of people, it's just another day. But then the real estate agent goes, okay, guys, just going to pop by today. It's that day. I know you're probably celebrating. I can't make the party, but I've got you a gift to remind you about how I helped you. No one actually thinks about that. You know what I mean?
And so you wouldn't do that for anything else, like anything else.
But no one thinks for themselves. And that's what I'm trying to empower people to think. You obviously think for yourself. There's all clear as day. You're like, that doesn't work. Let's try this. So here's the thing. Birthday. So every single person that ever buys a house, even to this day, even though I haven't done many deals in the last while personally, they get a fresh cooked box of cookies every single birthday on their doorstep on the day, couriered. Cost me $20 to $30 a year. And this box of cookies keeps us in the game, long game. It's my long game system. There's more stuff, but if I was to give you one hack, is that you celebrate their birthdays. Now, you can do it old school and we jump on a phone and do a video message, which is great, but it's a broken system because you can't scale that because you're going to be too busy and you'll do a bunch of them and then quit. But I could just do it this way. No. find a cookie, a peanut brittle, find something that can sit on a step on any weather, hot or cold. You find the couriering company. This is building your business. So forever, people get cookies. It costs me $5,000-$6,000 a year right now. But guess what? Guy calls me the other day and goes, hey, Ben, I haven't talked to him in 4 years. Hey, Ben, I just want to tell you, they told us to use a different real estate agent in my divorce, but there's no way. You're my guy. And I said, okay, great. I'm going to let you know my partner is going to give you a call. Turns out to be $1 million listing. Guess what? Cookies. Mm-hmm. Cookies. Know how many shout outs I get on Facebook? Do you want to do something worth it? So see, that's one minor system. I've got like 15 or 20 that we have in the business, all based on long game and blowing the client's mind and creating a conversation behind our back. And it's never about never like, imagine this. Hey, I'm going to send you something after this interview, Joe. It's got my logo and my face on a pen. I can't wait to send it to you. Like, yeah, right. So archaic. I get it pre-internet.
Oh, see, yeah.
I get that. And I get it if you're selling Coke. You need it on everywhere. And by the way, I don't want to demonize it too much because branding does work, but you need everything. You need to have every bus bench. You need to have every signage. You got to just spread your name everywhere. But then what happens when the phone call comes in is what I'm worried about.
You're spinning that wheel again. You're saying,
but then it comes in. But if you come in, so you get one, but then what happens from the phone call to the service, to the thank you card, to the key release, to the keeping the client for life, all of these different systems, they don't have them because they focus just like you. You've searched the whole internet. You've said you've tried everything, but you've never had anyone in your whole research say, keep your client for the rest of your life. Like, it's just like, this is it.
The only thing I've ever heard was, well, the life of a client's worth X amount of dollars. But again, that's not seeing them as a person. That's not seeing your buddy as a fisherman. That's seeing as like, how can I get another paycheck from you in 5 years?
Okay, we've got a question here. Here. Dan Navarro. Colorado is a difficult market, extremely competitive. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. What market is not?
I don't know. I've never heard an agent get on and be like, there's 20 people in my market. There's thousands of homes to list. And I just walk in and it works out.
So the point is this, are we going to do what everyone else does? That's all I'm saying. It's a difficult market. So here's the thing. We need to connect with the client and get them to refer you then. Because referrals it's just like they call you, they want to use you, they list, it's no sales involved. That's the game, right? True. That's all crazy. It's all crazy. It's true, Dan. It's true.
But think about it. Like, everybody's doing all this the normal way to do real estate, right? And I say it's the highway of real estate. That's where everybody thinks if you get on. But guess what? If you take your own road, this own Route 66, and just take a detour that's nobody else is on, guess what? You're not competing. You're not having to sell yourself. You're not doing what everybody else is doing. And that's what you're talking about. You're like, yeah, if I'm sending, hey, we sold your house a year ago, or hey, like, blah, 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 whatever. And here's a picture of my face on it. Here's a picture of my logo.
Yeah.
It's so weird. What everybody else is doing. So just do something slightly different that you like, and it's going to be totally different. And also, get back to that question when he was like, hey, isn't it competitive out there? One, it's competitive everywhere. But if you have that mindset of, hey, cool. Like, when I first started, I was like, oh my gosh, I was sitting in meetings, and all my agents here are 20 plus years, right? And they're all like 2 listings a week, and like all have buyers, and I have no idea who these people are. So I'm just like, wow, I wish I was doing all this, right? And then I was like, man, I can't, if I figure something out, I couldn't tell anybody else about it, right? Now I can tell everybody in the world about it. And I'm not really in my market too much, but like everybody in the world. Why? Because they're not me. Yeah. Who they're going to attract to?
You're nailing it. Dude, I would go on stage when COVID wasn't here. I'd hit the stages, and I'd say, I'm going to give you every single thing I have. Like right now, why would I share birthday system? My whole team is competitive in my area. Guess why? No one executes on nothing. Like, it's hilarious. I'll give you everything. We do a red carpet. We go from the red carpet. The closing, we take a picture of them. The picture of them in 3 months goes into a magnet sleeve, and the picture of them goes on their fridge. So when they have a party, they actually talk about us, and our phone number's on the back of that magnet. Guess what? There's our system. Take it. Hey, do you want to go birthday system? Take it. No one does anything. And this is what I'm trying to say. So that's why it's like we get so protected. I'm like, have it all, but real
estate agents are really interesting. They go and they spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on coaching and on new systems and new ideas and how to do things, right? And how many people actually implement it?
So this is what I say is the best system in the world not run is garbage.
Yeah.
But a notepad and a pack of sticky notes can beat the best system in the world because it's a system that you run. And that's the thing, right? This is our marathon. I don't even know how many people I've been talking to. I'm enjoying talking to Joe here. I'm glad we get to meet each other. I'm very surprised, impressed. You obviously have a level of self-awareness, and what you've done is like the game is won. You just need to put a business behind it, and it's just a matter of time before you do that. And so I'm super, super happy that you shared. You've got a lot of insight for being in 2.5 years. I bet you there's some backstory there in your personal life that's made you look self-reflective. Bet you there's some stories back there, because not everybody wakes up self-aware. Usually you pay a price to be self-aware.
Yeah, you do.
You do. Maybe we'll have to chat about that someday. But what we're going to do is I'm going to give you the floor. Okay. So you got the last minute or so. Share whatever you want, your time. I don't even care. Maybe you just want to take a shot at a football team that you don't like. I don't care. But why don't you just say whatever you want to say? It's your time. We'll close it out that way.
Okay, thank you.
And so by the way, one thing, I'm a little disappointed. You know what? I'm a little disappointed actually. It says this, that I don't swear, but you might have to edit all my smart ass remarks out. I didn't even get to see the smart ass remark. I thought this guy's gonna be great. All he is like insightful and smart, but where's the smart ass?
Oh yeah. I need to have enough coffee this morning.
Okay.
So
you're
I'm speaking to new agents like me, ones that are just starting out, like I was for the first like 8-9 months of my career, where I was not getting one a month, not even doing anything, and it was terrible, right? Is that go find something. For me, it was Facebook. I just got on Facebook. I started messaging people, talking to people, doing everything on that, right? And what I found out was you start attracting the people that you want to attract when you start talking about things you like to do. I talk about the gym all the time because I'm an avid gym goer. I do a lot with guns. There's a lot of different things that I like. Just find your niche with that. But here's another thing. Like, you need to find an audience, because it's going to be hard to like find 100,000 people that like you today, right? But if you keep doing it, you keep reaching out. I use a lot of Facebook groups, local ones. That's a way to get a huge audience very quickly. So after this is something you should go look up. It's just Facebook groups in your local area, buy, sell, trade, garage sale, any of that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying post your new listings. I'm not saying post, hey, use me as an agent. Don't put a picture of yourself like, hey, if you need to buy or sell real estate, don't do that. Just post questions. Just post a question. I did one today or yesterday, and it was like, hey, I need some new music. What's one song you can't get out of your head or you play on loops? And man, 50, 60 people have commented on that, right? And now you're getting engagement, and then they'll see you. The other thing is, every now and then, throw in something about real estate, throw in, hey, what would make you a home seller this year? Or, hey, like, what's one reason you haven't bought a house when you want to buy a house, right? And then genuinely talk to people, have good, deep, meaningful conversations, and guess what? Then people will know you're in real estate, and you don't have to do it every day. You don't have to do it every week. Just be consistent, talk to people, be genuine, and then just post fun stuff. That's all I do.
That can't be right. You got to hammer them every day with listing conversations and buyers. What if they don't know that you're an agent? What if some other guy they use? Isn't that funny? By the way, hey, Thank you. Okay, here we go.
Just think about that though. Like, does your buddy that's a plumber tell you he's a plumber every day? No. So don't tell people you're an agent every day.
It'd be so weird. Hey, dude, I'm a plumber. I'm like, you're weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it, dude. You've got an unbelievable head on your shoulders. You see things so, I don't know, man. It's just like you're just being yourself. And that's what I'm saying. It's hard to describe that, but you've had some amazing conversations. Super impressed. We got an amazing mix of people through this show, and I'm very happy. By the way, I just want to say one thing. I have no clue what I'm doing right now, but I'm moving forward, and I want to just inspire people to do the same. It's like, I'm like, who does a full marathon? I don't know. I'm gonna give it a go. It could be horrible, but I do trust who I am, so I do have a belief in myself. But whatever you got to do, it's like I just hear your advice is so good, and now it's like, let me add a little nitro, because it's like, how do we get people to actually do the advice? That's where I come in, and it's like you test, try, and like I get to meet you. I get people watching us. This is going to be leveraged. This is going to be a package. You're going to share it. I'm going to promote you. It's like, in theory, it seems like a pretty awesome idea. Let's give it a go. It could be a disaster, but that's okay. And the only way to win is to try.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a vision, try it. If you like, how many times do you think about people that had ideas, they just never did it? Like those could have been the one. I remember one guy, Ben Lotz, and I've done a few podcasts with him. He's a social media guy, and yeah, Ben Lotz is a friggin' character. Love this guy.
Yeah.
And but he had that one idea to do like a pub crawl, but it was a kid's playground crawl. And he had this forever. And he's like, they went playground to playground. They had contests. He had 300-400 people. He's like, what the frick? And that's what popped him. But that idea sat with him for 6 months and he struggled and struggled. So that's why you have to have belief in yourself. See, that's the ultimate hack, because you'll actually try stuff. So if you're held back, if you hear Joe's got great advice here and he's got a ton of it, I think if you're not translating that into action, then you got to look within.
Yeah.
And stop looking at strategies, period. Because it's good enough advice. How much more advice do we need? You've got Google, and if you're not actually moving forward, you got to find out what is resistant on the inside. If that doesn't help, no strategies are going to work. It'll be like running a race car, but never ever getting up to speed, and you'll just have so much potential you'll never hit. But that's the inner game. That's the inner game.
I think about it because I listen to your podcast, which I wanted to say thank you for having me on, because I've really taken a lot from yours, and I listen to it very consistently. But it's the same thing. I listen to a ton of podcasts, read a ton of books, and I talk to people that read and do real estate stuff all the time. Yeah. Well, if that's like going to get your degree and become a doctor, and then never actually going and performing surgery. You've got all this knowledge, you know how to do things, but if you don't actually go in and get the scalpel out and actually cut somebody open, it's all knowledge that's wasted.
100%. Learning is the greatest trap. It's the greatest trap. How many people have 10 degrees? They just are stuck in the trap.
Oh, yeah.
I just put a video out yesterday. Did you see it? It kind of has gone a little bit viral. I said, I'm going to encourage my kids to cheat. And I said, because I sucked at school so bad, but I'm the guy on top of the world right now. I've got lots going on. I got leaders. I'm making lots of money. And I said, why wouldn't I encourage my son to negotiate with his older sister to get the work done? I said, just imagine. I said, that's what I do all day. I cheat. You think I'm going to edit this? I'm going to go negotiate with someone. I'll trade you this money, and I'll negotiate the money so he can re-edit it. I will trade and try to talk my assistant into posting it because she works for me. Well, welcome to why I want my son to try to convince the sister to do his homework. Yeah. And so I feel like it's gone. I actually go to my it's either IGTV or Facebook and take a look. It's been shared and everything. And it's awesome. It's a little bit it's a little, I told my wife what she did. She's like, Ben, people are going to think we're crazy. I'm like, I never really thought of that.
A little bit of crazy is good, right? Because that's the part that's you, if you're too straight.
You're interesting now, right? Okay, man, I'm going to let you go. I got Alexa sitting on deck. Super excited to jump to the next meeting. I'm feeling good. We'll keep in touch, Joe. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, have a good one.